Hey everyone, Dan Toman here. So we're going to talk a little bit about empowerment at our welcome desk. We've talked about empowerment before in another segment, but we really related empowerment to more how to handle our customers, our guests, when things go wrong, how to take ownership of a situation, that type of thing. In this segment, we're going to talk about empowerment in a little bit different regards. We're going to discuss empowerment when it comes to making decisions at our welcome desk in order to make rate decisions and attempt to get our guests to book with us directly when and if they return. Now, I talk a little bit more about getting our guests to book directly in another segment, but that's kind of a segue to what I'm about to discuss here for a moment. It's important that our welcome desk agents, our directors of first impressions, understand that, we've got a lot of freedom at the front desk, but it's one thing to say, well, my front desk agents are empowered at my hotel, or for a front office manager to say that. But I think sometimes when we're talking about rates and short-term bookings, our agents don't really understand the impact that it has when sometimes they might respond, or a potential guest may say, well, I saw this rate on XYZ third-party online travel agency, whether it's Orbitz, Expedia, Priceline, what have you. I saw this rate for tonight or tomorrow night, and it's lower than the rate that you're telling me, so why wouldn't I just book on that website? And then I've actually heard agents say, well, you can book on that website to get that rate. You have to book on that website to get that rate because I can't book it for you. Huh? I don't think our agents sometimes know the fees related with that. And it's not their fault, usually. I mean, they just aren't educated on it. Not to mention the fact, some management may have said, whether it's current or prior management, may have somewhere alluded to the fact that the rate's the rate, and that's it. And that's what you're going to go on. To me, that's flawed thinking. I think that we need to educate our agents, and it's a good idea to, perhaps as management is leaving for the day or what have you, ensure that the front office knows what the bottom dollar rate is for that day and for the next couple days per se. We've talked about in hotels forever, and this is the truth. It's inventory, the current day's inventory you'll never have again. And I think that this is a mentality that we need to kind of reiterate with our teams. Every empty room tonight, at the end of when we run end of day, will never occur ever again in the future of XYZ Hotel. It's gone forever. It was a missed opportunity. And if our welcome desk agents start to look at it that way, and that comes from us educating them, I think that the tide may turn a little bit. And we may look at those guests who come to us and say, well, I saw this lower rate on Expedia, and then agent says, well, I can't book it for you. You have to book it through Expedia. They may go a little bit different. Now, it's important that agents also know how and why we have rate codes and rate code buckets. Some hotels don't have very defined rate codes, but most of ours really do. But having them know what rate codes to use when they've made an empowered decision to offer a lower rate to a guest on same-day short-term booking in order to get some heads in beds, knowing what rate code to use is important. It needs to be one that's been bucketed on the back end of the system, been mapped to be a discount rate and not a rack rate and not a local negotiated rate. So it needs to be a discount rate plan that is used or overridden per se. Most properties are going to have something like a hot rate or a management approved rate, MGMT code, something to that effect. That's a good catch-all, but keep in mind those codes can get abused as well. They can become, if we can't find, or if we don't want to make the effort to find the right rate code, we're just going to always override into hot rate or management approved, whatever the property may call it. And that ends up really messing up reporting on the back end. So we don't want to get in the habit of that. And in fact, it's good if you do have one of these generic rate codes, which it's a good idea to have something like that for purposes of what I'm discussing, that periodically you're running a rate analysis report out of your property management system in order to see if there's any trends. Maybe we're missing a rate code that we should have because things are always getting overridden into management code or hot rate or whatever we're going to call it. So it's important that we're doing a rate code analysis once in a while, management is, in order to see if there's a better way to do this, if we're missing a code we should have. So the moral of this story, folks, is it's just important that our teams understand the power they have really on our top line, and also to try to save us some of those fees. Because whenever we can get a guest to book direct, one, we're going to save those fees, and we know how much those fees are. On a normal booking, I mean, on a $100 rate for one night, we're talking, gosh, $10 to $20 instantly, depending on which travel agent it is or which online travel agent, third-party booking channel. You know, that's a good chunk of our margin gone right away that we could have probably prevented if the guest called us directly. And, you know, if the guest says, gosh, I see this rate's $80, well, my best available rate that I can offer you is $100 for tonight. Well, then why wouldn't the guest book online? I mean, unless they're part of a brand loyalty program where they're not going to get the points for booking online. If it's one of our independent properties, why wouldn't they book online in that case? I mean, just doesn't take a rocket scientist to think that through. So it's important that our teams know what they're empowered to offer a guest in that short term in order to get the guest to book with us and book with us directly, save those fees, and, you know, maybe think of some kind of an incentivize. I don't know. That's completely up to management. But the kicker here is this. Have the team be empowered and educated on what they're able to do, what rate bucket, what rate code to use for situations like this, and try to capture every guest possible. I mean, you know, it's up to management to tell them, our teams, what's okay and what's not. The teams get it from somewhere, so be sure they're getting it from the right source, the right, good, reliable information. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.